Gramercy Tavern is one of the most beloved fine dining restaurants in New York City. The establishment has been around for decades. It has a Michelin star and a very famous burger that I just had to try.
It's a beautiful day today here in New York City. Right now I'm at Madison Square Park and I'm just relaxing and enjoying this wonderful weather. It's finally starting to feel like fall right now and I am loving it. For lunch, I went to one of the most beloved fine dining restaurants in all of NYC, Gramercy Tavern. Now I've been to Gramercy Tavern a couple of times already and I love it. It is always a reliable place for a good meal, but I've never had their burger. And I love burgers. In fact, the restaurant is quite famous for their burger, so I had to try it. As I've said before, burgers are one of my favorite things and I'm always on the hunt for the best. Plus, I was also looking forward to just sitting down, relaxing, and enjoying some food because right now, I am so busy and stressed out. Very soon, I will be running the Frankfurt Marathon in Frankfurt, Germany. And after that, I'll be traveling around Germany a bit. I'll go to Luxembourg and I'll finish my trip in Paris, France. Now, I'm incredibly excited about this trip and I've got so many amazing restaurants that I plan to go to. But the result of this is that I have to get so much work done before I head to Europe. As a result of that, today's lunch at Gramercy Tavern proved to be the most pleasant respite. And with that being said, this was my lunch at Gramercy Tavern where I tried their famous burger.
Gramercy Tavern is located near the Flatiron District and Gramercy Park neighborhoods of New York City. The restaurant was established in 1994 by restaurateur Danny Meyer, who is responsible for a number of popular New York City establishments like the nearby Union Square Cafe, which was actually the first restaurant Meyer opened. Chef Tom Colicchio, who is perhaps best known as being the head judge of Top Chef, co-founded Gramercy Tavern with Meyer and for a time served as its executive chef. Throughout Gramercy Tavern's 30-plus years, the establishment has been a bastion of consistency and excellence, racking up numerous awards and the love of diners. There was no question about it, I was excited. I arrived to the restaurant at 11:30 for my lunchtime reservation on a Thursday. Once I was seated, I took in the space. Gramercy Tavern is practically two restaurants in one. I was situated in the tavern area of the establishment, which serves an a la carte menu, while the more formal dining room section features tasting and prefix menus. The tavern is a nice looking, warm and inviting space with tall ceilings, wooden accents, and an energetic atmosphere. It was also well decorated for the fall season. After I settled in, I began to look over the menu. Gramercy Tavern serves seasonal American cuisine, and as a result, the selection is always changing, but the burger is a menu staple and will likely always be on offer. Next, I explored the beverage selection. I was given two fairly sizable menus. One showcased the vast array of the restaurant's wine, which was pretty impressive, while the smaller list highlighted Gramercy Tavern's cocktails and other beverages. I was in the mood for a cocktail. I got the paper lantern, which contains sobacha, Japanese whiskey, coconut, and milk punch. The drink was pleasant and smooth, with a nice balanced flavor. Now, it wasn't the strongest cocktail, but I certainly enjoyed drinking it. Not long after I was presented with my beverage, I received bread along with a complimentary tomato soup, which was very generous and much appreciated. I first tried the soup and my goodness, that was wonderful. That was probably one of the best tomato soups that I've ever had, but in a way it makes sense. It's not a dish that I typically see in a fine dining restaurant, let alone one with a Michelin star. The soup didn't just consist of a pleasant, velvety smooth broth, but it also contained various components like croutons, basil, and Romano beans, which further enhanced the course. Overall, that tomato soup was excellent, and I was very grateful to have the opportunity to try it. At the same time, I also got to enjoy the bread, which was a focaccia with pesto. To put it plainly, that bread was fantastic. It was nice and fresh and ticked off all the boxes in terms of texture. I'm particularly fond of pesto, so I really enjoyed the flavors from that focaccia. Like the rest of the menu, the bread evolves with the season, so it's always changing, but that focaccia was a hit. After finishing my soup and bread, I was presented with the appetizer that I actually ordered. I got the heirloom tomato salad, which contained plums, walnuts, and basil. It was an absolutely beautiful looking dish featuring a kaleidoscope of color, and I couldn't wait to give it a try. I thought the salad was very nice. The tomatoes were fresh and juicy, the plums added a slight sweetness, and the walnuts gave some nice textural variation. However, I felt that the dish was lacking something. It would have been nice to have some sort of overarching element of sweetness or acidity, or maybe a bit of balsamic vinegar. To me, it seemed like if there was just one more thing, it could have taken that appetizer to the next level. Despite that, I still really enjoyed that salad. It was certainly a nice dish to really kick off my meal, but after finishing, it was time for what I truly came to the restaurant for, the burger. I thought that the presentation of the dish was interesting as the burger came out already sliced in half. Normally, I prefer burgers to come out whole, and if I feel like it, I would cut it in half myself. However, with the way Gramercy Tavern does it, it ensures that their customers get to fully see that beautiful, thick beef patty. Also on the plate was a pickle, chips, and a smoked onion aioli. Finally, it was time for me to try the famous tavern burger from Gramercy Tavern, and it delivered. Yeah, that dish lived up to the hype. I loved it. First off, let's consider the meat. Gramercy Tavern utilizes thick beef patties with meat that is fresh and ground daily. It's then cooked over a wood fire grill to order, which results in a nice smokiness to the beef. As far as the temperature on my burger, I thought that it was slightly off, and I would have liked to have seen a bit more pink. At the same time though, that meat was so incredibly juicy and flavorful. It was also seasoned to perfection, which thoroughly enhanced the patty's wonderful beefy flavor. On top of the meat was a pleasant tasting cheese. Now I'm not sure of the exact type of cheese that it was, but it was good. It wasn't the strongest flavor, but it nicely complemented the beef and imparted a nice bit of funk and creaminess. The other topping was bacon, which was thin cut and it perfectly crowned the burger. Now, the bacon didn't have that main character energy like it does on the burgers of Fort Charles Prime Rib and Au Cheval, but the important thing was that it didn't distract from the meat. It provided another flavor profile, a bit of smokiness, and a nice crisp to the burger. Lastly, there was the sesame seed bun, which I thought was absolutely perfect. The buns are baked fresh daily and then toasted to order. Overall, Gramercy Tavern serves a great burger, and it's clear why that dish is a menu staple. Although at one point during the burger's beginnings, it was actually an off-menu item that was available in limited quantities. I'm glad that the dish was brought to the main menu, as the whole limited off-menu burger trend is something that I just find a bit annoying. Besides the burger, there were the chips. Normally, my preferred side with a burger will always be French fries, but after trying those chips, I was blown away. They were fantastic. They had such a wonderful flavor and were light and crispy. The level of salt on them was on point. Those chips were just the perfect snack. I think one of the reasons why I enjoyed them so much was that I've just grown so used to the packaged variety, and it has certainly been a while since I've had freshly made chips, which obviously makes a big difference. I also thoroughly enjoyed the cup of smoked onion aioli, which paired perfectly with the chips. It added a smoky, sweet, and rich flavor that was a true delight. The aioli also went very well with the burger. Honestly, you could probably add that sauce to anything and it would take it to another level. Overall, that was a great plate of food and I was thoroughly satisfied. After finishing, it was on to dessert. All of the dishes on offer sounded great, and I thoroughly enjoyed my desserts at the restaurant in the past, so I was really looking forward to the course. I went with one of the restaurant's signature offerings, the chocolate chunk cookie. The dish also included a shot of malted chocolate milk, complete with a striped straw. It was a simple looking plate, but simple can sometimes be the most satisfying. I started by trying the chocolate milk, which was nice, but it also contributed a sense of fun to the dish. Then I dug into the cookie by utilizing the silverware. I wasn't sure of the exact protocol of eating a cookie at a Michelin-starred restaurant, and it was a very thick treat. However, whether one eats the cookie by hand or with a fork and knife, the taste will be the same, and it was outstanding. The cookie was nice and warm with big, hearty, gooey pieces of chocolate. There was also a nice sprinkling of flaky sea salt on top, which helped balance out the sweetness. I loved the thickness of the cookie too. It was almost like a skillet cookie. Perhaps it is a skillet cookie, just taken out of the skillet. Overall, that really was an exceptional treat. To sum it up, I had a great meal at Gramercy Tavern. That lunch simply revitalized me. After finishing, it was time for the bill, which totaled to $93.64, but with my tip, I spent about $111. I certainly left the restaurant as a happy customer.
So that was a very enjoyable lunch, and that burger, I think I lived up to the hype. Although I wouldn't necessarily consider the burger to be top tier, but I think it's close to it. If I had to rank the burger out of 10, I would give it an 8.7. I consider a 9 and above to be top tier, and top tier burgers are few and far between. But don't get me wrong, that was truly a great and satisfying burger. If you're a burger fan, that one is a must try. Besides the burger, I enjoyed all the other food I had today at Gramercy Tavern. That is always such a reliable and consistent place for a good meal. And that cookie, my goodness, that was amazing. Now that was a top tier cookie. I loved it. There's a reason why that dish has remained on Gramercy Tavern's dessert menu for all this time. I mean, if there's such a thing as a destination cookie, that's it. To sum it up, Gramercy Tavern is one of those restaurants where you just can't go wrong with. It's a place that is truly firing on all cylinders, from food, atmosphere, service, and hospitality. Plus, Gramercy Tavern sells one hell of a fine burger. And an absolutely epic cookie. Without question, I will certainly be returning to Gramercy Tavern.